Well, I have the pleasure to introduce this article. This is a collective effort with colleagues from the MIT Scale Network, the Center for Transportation and Logistics in Boston, and the Sargasso Logistics Center. And we are happy to introduce to the SCM community, the supply chain management community, the concept of synchromodality. I'm going to talk briefly about what it is, why we believe it's a promising avenue for both research and practice, and then we're going to dig deeper into the method, the results of our study, and the future developments. So concerning the meaning of synchromodality, we basically consolidated aspects that have been put forward by previous studies, mostly in the transportation research area, and we define synchromodality as a multimodal transportation planning system where the different supply chain agents work together in an integrated and flexible way that enables them to dynamically adapt the transport modes they use based on real-time information from all stakeholders, such as customers, suppliers, logistics service providers, and other operators in the supply chain. So this is essentially a scale development study where we define the different dimensions of synchromodality, and we test the scale that future studies can use. But at the same time, we also try to provide preliminary evidence and some concrete examples, such as, for example, the example of the port of Rotterdam, among others, about the potential outcomes and results you can obtain by adopting synchromodality. So the reason why we think synchromodality is important is that it encompasses a unique mix of elements that can grant better supply chain performance in various terms, like, for example, cost efficiency, resilience, logistic differentiation, and also reduced carbon footprint. And this is possible because synchromodality addresses a central aspect in the transportation research debate, which is the optimal combination of transport modes. And while doing that, it brings in, at the same time, classic supply chain management concepts to achieve this fusion between logistics, let's say, and transportation research on the one hand, and supply chain management on the other. In particular, our study shows that synchromodality is the composition of 4 dimensions. One is the real-time visibility of the state of the transportation chain. The second is the integration between different supply chain actors, which is a known concept in supply chain research. The third is multimodal transport, and the last one is flexibility, which is meant in this context as the ability to seamlessly adapt the mix of transport modes in real time for better results, as we've said. As a matter of fact, we saw from previous evidence that despite the advocacy of researchers and experts and also the efforts of public policymakers, a truly multimodal transportation network has yet to emerge. Most companies still rely on road transport because, you know, modal shifts to rail or water are really limited at the moment. And we think this is mainly due to the complexity of managing these multimodal networks and the difficulty to recognize the potential benefits when you think to multiple objectives at the same time. So we believe synchromodality actually has emerged to offer a holistic supply chain view of the modal shift process, and it can become a new transportation paradigm that is able to deal with, you know, some current supply chain trends. Because synchromodality is not only about the latest algorithm for, you know, the best route or the optimal truckload saturation, but it's also about managing the transportation chain in an integrated way, and also in coordination with, you know, all the agents that are part of the supply chain, with the aim of serving the final client or the final customers. And there is also an important technological component which is linked to the recent trend of supply chain digitization that is a fundamental, let's say, prerequisite for synchromodality. So for these reasons, we believe that synchromodality in a way transcends the boundaries of transportation science and actually can bring, let's say, logistic research and supply chain management research closer.
As we have mentioned earlier, synchromodality is such a novel concept that not much empirical work has been done apart from a couple of case studies like the port of Rotterdam that Davide just mentioned. So for that reason, we believe that the development of the synchromodal construct will set the foundations for future empirical work. To develop the construct, we base our work on the papers that were already published by Menor and Groff and also Chan et al. And we adapted and expanded their methodology to create new concepts. In the first stage, we conducted a systematic literature review that helped us to define the meaning of synchromodality and its content. We found quite a variety of synchromodal definitions in the literature, yet many of those share some common characteristics which allow us to identify the 4 main dimensions of synchromodality that Davide just briefly explained. So the first is the transport mode choice that is based on customer requirements, such as shipping, time, cost, or shipping conditions, but as well as on external information, such as the network status or other operation-related circumstances, which posits visibility as one of the main synchromodal dimensions. Visibility is achieved through gathering data from multiple stakeholders, and this information could include demand, delays, transit times, pricing, network congestion, and so forth. Second, the large amount of real-time data in the development of synchromodality implies that the different agents in the supply chain have to work in an integrated way, which introduces integration as another distinctive feature of synchromodality. Third, synchromodality embraces all of the intermodal and comodal transportation characteristics, as it includes the use of 2 or more transport modes in an integrated, efficient, and sustainable way. However, synchromodality goes one step further in that it introduces the ability to adapt the network to the dynamically changing environments in which global companies are operating. In this case, the movement of goods is no longer dictated by prefix or prearranged schedules and routes, but by flexible mode-free planning operations. So shippers will dictate when and where the goods should be delivered, and the transportation chain has the flexibility to operate as needed in order to meet customer requirements. So therefore, the operationalization of the transport chain is no longer fixed, is no longer contractually predefined, but dynamically adapted and periodically revisited according to the information received in real time. So in the second stage of the research methodology, we did iterations between the literature review, qualitative interviews, and focus groups, and these help us to define the scale items for each of the dimensions of synchromodality. This allows us to move to the third stage of the research, in which we administer a large-scale survey to European-based transportation companies and logistics providers that were currently developing and implementing synchromodal projects. At this stage, we closely work with a multinational manufacturing company, which is a global leader in its market and is also a pioneer in synchromodality in Europe. In the final stage of the research, we developed the synchromodality measurement model. We first evaluated concerning dimensionality and reliability through an exploratory factor analysis, and then we assessed both convergent and discriminant validity through confirmatory factor analysis. Next, we tested 4 competitive models. We compared those models based on their fit indices, the consistent ICAC information criteria, and also the target coefficient. And we also checked for misspecifications and expected parameter changes. Finally, our results confirm that synchromodality can be conceptualized as a multidimensional construct that is consists on 4 dimensions, which are visibility, integration, multimodal transport, and flexibility. In other words, and to conclude this section, synchromodality can be modeled as a 4-factor second-order construct.
Our paper contributes both to the academic body of knowledge as well as from the practitioner's point of view. From the academic side, this study is the first attempt to empirically validate a measure of synchromodality based on a systematic definition and conceptualization. This study lays an important foundation to further investigate synchromodality, to compare the results across empirical studies in different contexts, and to accumulate theories of synchromodality implementation that are instrumental to future research and practice. From the practitioner's standpoint, the present study can be considered a starting point for supply chain and transportation logistics managers who are considering the implementation of all these concepts in their daily operations, especially when they are working with their logistics network, with the logistics service providers. Our findings suggest that synchromodal visibility is reflected in the sharing of demand forecast, distribution network status by customers, transport network status through a variety of different sources, and of timely updates by logistics partners and subcontractors. To leading companies like the company that is the key core empirical source of information in our paper, this information is crucial to ensure an excellent service level. To this end, logistics service providers tightly integrate with their customers by jointly discussing forecast and logistics planning, and by establishing a collaborative and open climate, synchromodal integration. Furthermore, two interrelated concepts stand at the heart of synchromodality. First, in terms of transport mode, logistics service providers translate customer requirements into operational choices on the basis of available information. They must be able to integrate into one shipment the mix of transport modes that best satisfy customer demands. Here, the aforementioned concept of visibility and integration support the selection and real-time revision of transport mode choices based on customer needs and the status of their logistics networks. This leads to the implementation of multimodal transport systems. And second, logistics service providers need to implement a flexible synchromodal system, meaning that they should easily be able to switch between transport modes on the basis of changes in transport network status or customer requirements. As Davide already mentioned, supply chain digitization is an ongoing trend, and several scholars and practitioners in our area point to the upcoming digital revolution that is here with us, right? Here is where synchromodal practices stands by creating an integrated ecosystem with key partners by developing their visible, integrated, and flexible intermodal operations. All these four capabilities reinforce to each other, right? With the research and analysis that we have conducted. Actually, in our lab on digital supply chain transformation at MIT, we researched the connection between synchromodality, digital processes, and technologies such as artificial intelligence, digital twins, or IoT with very promising research avenues. If we want to mention limitations of our research design, we could also go with for replication and also triangulation of our research. We base our research on European data, mostly emanating from one focal, fast-moving consumer goods company and its logistics network. So we could replicate this empirical study in other contexts. As future research, what we envision here after conceptualizing and validating the measurement of synchromodality, so then it will be interesting to further empirically test the effect of synchromodality on supply chain resilience or on supply chain sustainability. Thank you very much.